Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Literary Love 123, where I use my master's in English along with my passion for the horror genre to talk about the books that I read. Today's video is another October vlog. So I'll be talking about what I'm doing for the Spooky Scary Skeleton Readathon this week and also for week 4 of Halloweenathon. Halloweenathon is hosted and created by Kelsi at Slime and Slashers, and I will link her channel down below. And I, along with several other people, are co-host for the Spooky Scary Skeleton Readathon, which was created and is hosted by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. So I will link everybody's information down below. So let me talk about the 3 books that I plan to read for this vlog. The first one is Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch by Cody Crowley. If you watched my last vlog, you know that the thriller I picked out for the Spooky Scary Skeleton Readathon did not work for me and I DNF'd it. So I am going to replace it with Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch to fulfill the prompt to read a thriller by an author I've never heard of. And the second book that I'm going to be reading for this vlog is Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. I had planned to get to it during the last week and talk about it in that vlog, but I did not get to it. And this is a double dip prompt. It's fulfilling a Halloweenathon prompt to read a recommendation by one of the Monster Squad members. And this book is recommended by Travis at BiblioShark, and I will link him down below. And it also fulfills a prompt for the Spooky Scary Skeleton Readathon, which is to read a book that has an orange cover or has the word orange in the title. And there's enough orange on here, I'm counting it. And finally, the third book I plan to read this week fulfills the Spooky Scary Skeleton prompt to read a book that is set during October or about Halloween. So for this one, I've chosen Dead Leaves by Keelan Patrick Burke, which is 9 short stories. So I'm not going to talk about what each of these books is about in the intro. I will talk about that as I get to them throughout the vlog. And I am going to go now, and I will check back in after I have done some reading. See you in the next check-in. Hello, it's Monday afternoon, October 14th. You'll probably hear my daughter in the background. She is home from school today. They were out of school for a teacher work day, so I'm going to try to make this check-in short. So first of all, I have to confess that I DNF'd Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch by Cody Crowley. I did give it to like past chapter 9, but before I started chapter 10, I was just like, I just can't. I found the main character very annoying, very immature. It is YA, and I do enjoy some YA, but this one just read very immature. She also gives these vibes like I'm such a bad girl, and I kind of stir up trouble wherever I go. It was almost like pushing it like to the extreme, and I just couldn't deal with it anymore. It also felt very slow moving at the same time. I don't think I talked about what it was about, but it's about a young girl who wakes up and she's like at the bottom of the river, lake, some body of water, and she's got blood on her and she's been missing for a while. Her best friend ends up missing. She's pretty sure that whatever happened to her and possibly happened to her best friend has to do with her ex-boyfriend who's a musician and evidently is like a major jerk. I don't know exactly what he did because I didn't get that far in the book. And I don't really, I mean, like, she meets up with these other kids and they're all holed up in this abandoned house, but somehow they have like some electricity and a phone that works some kind of way. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure you may get from the synopsis and the cover of the book what is going on here, but that wasn't even defined when I stopped where I did. I don't even want to say more in case it would be spoiler, but and I don't want to keep talking about it. I don't remember a lot of specific details about it because it just wasn't working for me. So I decided that since I'd had a really bad experience with the past two audiobooks I tried to listen to, if you saw my previous vlog, I DNF'd a thriller called The Perfect Wife, written by, I forgot who it's written by now, but I'll pop it up there so you can see. But long story short, I decided to go with one of my favorite spooky season books and my number two favorite from Stephen King, Salem's Lot. So I am revisiting that novel through audio. I feel like I needed to have a palate cleanser after watching that disaster that's the 2024 released Salem's Lot. I will also link my last vlog down below where I rant about how horrible that adaptation was at the end. So I wanted to go back to the Salem's Lot I know and love. So that's what's going on as far as my audiobooks. Now, I am just like in the first chapter of Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. And this one is about they were four teenagers and they had a dog and they solved a mystery back in 1977. And we already know from the back synopsis that one of them, this is 13 years later, and one of the original four has passed away. But they're having to revisit this mystery that they supposedly solved where an innocent, well, I don't know if he's exactly innocent, but he didn't do all the things that he was accused of. He was sent to jail and he gets paroled. And one of our main characters goes to visit him afterwards and knows that he did not really do all of the things that he supposedly did. But he wants them to think he did. So it's kind of confusing, but I'm sure it's all going to get explained throughout. And I mean, really, right now, we're just kind of meeting up with two characters who have reunited 13 years after they solved that last mystery in 1977. So it's definitely like Scooby Doo meets H.P. Lovecraft type. At least from, I know that it says that on the back, and then you can just tell. I mean, meddling kids, teenagers, and a dog solving crime. So I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. But the main reason I actually came to check in now is I wanted to show you some mail that I got today. So, first of all, I needed a new shirt, or wanted, maybe needed. Doesn't matter. And I thought this was really cute. So I ordered this one, this little spooky shirt. Thought it'd be fun to wear in the fall time. And now I want to show you the Halloween costumes that I'm going to be doing. Now, I did not get them from a costume store. I decided to go authentic and get actual clothes that we can all wear again, but that will fit. So, for this Halloween, my daughter is going to be Wednesday Addams because my daughter has long, dark hair and we often put them in like braids on the side. So I was kind of trying to figure out what we were going to do for Halloween. And then I was looking at my daughter one day with her little braids, and I was like, you look like Wednesday Addams. Light bulb moment, right? So this is going to be her dress to wear. And I, of course, will do her side braids so she can be Wednesday. All right, let me pull up the next one. And since my daughter is going to be Wednesday, I decided that I needed to be Morticia. So let me turn it the right way. Let me get it going here. So I got this black dress. It's long. It's got like a, you can't, with a camera, what's it focusing on? It's got like a slit up the side. So that is my Morticia dress. And of course, I had to do something for my hair, right? To be Morticia. So I have my wig, long black hair. And last but certainly not least, to go with my daughter and I, my husband is going to be Gomez. So here is his pinstripe jacket. I am something else. Let me. Okay. Yes, I am so excited about Halloween, and I just wanted to show you what we got. And next time I check back in, I will have gotten further into meddling kids and into my revisit of Salem's Lot. So I will see you in the next check in. Bye bye for now. You want milk? Okay. Are you trying to read some fairy tales and folklore? Hello, it's Tuesday morning. My plans for today have been changed because I've got to go to the doctor. I don't know what is going on with my left foot, but when I got up yesterday, it was incredibly sore and it hurt like sharp pains when I put any kind of weight on it. And my ankle is swollen up a little bit on that side. I've not twisted my ankle. I don't know what's going on. But I have to go to the doctor today to find out. So, yay, me. Also, I don't know if you've ever just been enjoying your favorite time of the year, like spooky season is for me, and everything's going fine. And all of a sudden, you just feel this heavy weight come crush down on you. But that has been going on with me the past couple of days. So, yeah, welcome to depression. I do talk about my depression on this channel, so I won't be too long about it. But let me just say, if you don't experience that, then you're very fortunate. If you do, you're not alone. So I'm trying to take things easy on myself and practice extra self care right now because I don't want to go any lower. Sometimes I don't really have control over that, but I do try to do the things that I can do. So that's going on also. And I don't know if it's that's causing me to be a little bit slumpy in my reading or if it's the books themselves. You know, I've recently DNF'd a couple of audiobooks and I'm considering DNFing meddling kids. I hate to say that. I'm on, there's not really chapter numbers, but a few chapters in on page 54. And I just have some issues with some things. So at the point we're at now, the three former Detective Club members have reunited. I mentioned, and the synopsis says also that the fourth member died since 1977 during the last time, or since the last time they solved a mystery together. So they're trying to come back together to solve this mystery that was not accurately solved before, where they thought this one man did it, but they kind of all knew that there was something else going on. Obviously, it seems like it was something that was actually supernatural going on there with this monster, this late monster. But some of the issues I'm having, the third member that they picked up has been locked in a locked. I mean, to be completely honest, I have gone inpatient for a week in a psychiatric unit. So, you know, full disclosure there. But they go and break him out of the psych unit that he's in. And when he's in there, there's also some strange language around the other patients there that kind of struck me wrong too. And they're watching a television show while he's in there, and just abruptly through the dialogue that's happening between characters, you just get little snippets of what's going on the TV. And it's not really related to the story at all. So I'm like, what are you doing here? And then this other thing that's really bugging me too, and I'm going to get some examples there, is the way that the author is making up words, like combining words together. For example, the dog, Tim is his name, which is kind of funny because that's my husband's name. But anyway, the dog is getting in trouble for doing something. Um, and then he writes, the dog swiftly sat down, stiff like an Egyptian jackal god, throwing a Terminatorish "I'll be back" glance at the armrest. I mean, Terminatorish, I don't like that. And then on the very next page, it's talking about one of the characters trying to keep focus on the road. And the author writes, Andy inner struggled to keep her focus on the road. Inner struggled. I don't like that. And I think, let me see if I got another. Okay, some of the writing is like overly descriptive and not in a good way, in my opinion. So here's an example of that. The world was wide and flat and smelled like oil, and it was mostly gray and damp and ugly. And here we go. But for the last few minutes, the cloudscape was shattering in patches of blue, and the sun peeped through in funny angles, creating cool chiaroscuro effects. I still have to look that word up. Chiaroscuro. Sparkling off the drizzle washed amber bodywork of the Chevy Vega and infusing it with supporting character charisma. I don't know. It's just not working too well for me. I'm going to take a break from it today. I'm going to try it again tomorrow. And if I still feel the same, then I'm going to DNF it. But I'm trying not to. So I'm just going to take a day break. And today, when I go to my doctor's appointment, I'm going to take Dead Leaves by Keelan Patrick Burke. And I'm going, there's a receipt in there. I'm going to read these stories today instead to see if I can kind of break up, meddling kids and make my final decision on it tomorrow. Take a little breather. And also as a treat to myself before I go to my doctor's appointment, I have to drive like 30 minutes to get to the doctor. So there's a local coffee shop there called Mocha. So I'm going to treat myself to some coffee and a little snack. Yes. And then my audiobook right now, you remember I started listening to Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Here's my print copy. And it is giving me all that I need right now as far as enjoying what I'm reading. This is maybe my fourth or fifth time to revisit this book. It is my number 2 favorite by Stephen King. And I just love Salem's Lot. I just love it. Sitting with Stephen King's novels is like sitting down with an old friend to me. I know where we're going, and I just love the way he gets us there. His capacity for developing characters and entire, worlds just compels me every time. I never get tired of it. Salem's Lot, this small town, I can just envision it perfectly. And I love how he talks at the beginning of the book about kind of where the idea came from. And he was having this conversation with his wife, about Dracula. He also talks about in the lead up to the story how he read Dracula when he was 9 or 10 and how it had such an impact on him. And then he only taught high school for like a couple of years, but Dracula is one of the novels he taught. And he talked about how he wasn't sure going back into it as an adult if it was going to have the same impact on him as it did when he first read it at like 9 or 10. but it did. And so he started thinking about Dracula as, he was after he had become a writer, and he was having a conversation with his wife, Tabitha, and he kind of said something about, well, if Dracula tried to come to New York City today, he'd get hit by a cab. And he kind of didn't think anything else about it. But Tabby, who thank you, Tabby. She's just an integral part of Stephen King's life, of course, as his wife, but also just giving him ideas and critiquing his work too. But she said, well, what about if a vampire came here to Maine? And he kind of took that and he really went with it and wrote Salem's Lot, this idea of a vampire coming in to this small New England town and what kind of impact that would have. And I love it. I love it already. So at the beginning of the novel, we get kind of current times, I guess you could say. So it's the aftermath of everything that's happened. And you have Ben Mears, who is the writer, who goes back to Salem's Lot, and Mark, who is I guess, middle schooler. I think middle schooler, high schooler, but I think middle schooler. And how they have become involved in each other's life. And that something terrible happened in Salem's Lot and they're on the run. And I love also how Stephen King does foreshadowing, how he plants these seeds as you go along. So you kind of know the ending, but you don't know what happened exactly. You don't know how they got there. And you know that when you pick up the novel, you're going to find out how they got there. And I'm just so happy about it. So, yeah, it's not, it's not making my depression go away. It doesn't work that way, but it is soothing me at this time. So I said a lot then in this check-in. So I'm going to go now and I will see you in the next check-in and let you know what I found out from the doctor. So see you in the next one. Is it funny? What you want to eat, huh? What you want? You want your cheese straw? Here comes a cheese straw. Got it? Boop. Hello, it's the Wednesday morning around 9:30. And I've been kind of moving in slow motion today. I'm tired and still dealing with some of the depression that I mentioned in the last check-in. But let me tell you what I found out at the doctor yesterday about my foot. They did x-rays and I have sprained my ankle somehow. I do not know. I did not twist it, at least that I can recall, or fall or anything. But thankfully that is all it is. And he gave me a steroid shot and prescribed some anti-inflammatories. So that should help. And hopefully my foot will be feeling better soon. Other than just doing some prep work for classes I'll be teaching tomorrow, I'm gonna try to take it easy today. I have a couple of movies I may watch. I don't know which ones yet because I've got a list, but I'll let you know what I decide to watch. And I'm going to do some reading. So let me talk to you about the reading that I'm doing right now. So I mentioned in the last check-in also that I'm going to read a little bit more of Meddling Kids today after taking a break from it yesterday to see if I'm going to DNF it or not. And I've got a pretty good stopping point because this last section that I'll be reading today goes for 13 or 14 pages. And then we get to part 2. So I'll feel like I really gave it a fair chance after reading the entirety of part 1. So I did start yesterday. Dead Leaves by Keelan Patrick Burke. I've read the first 2 stories and I have started the third one, and I am liking it so far. So the first story is called Andromeda, and it is like, they're so short, so I don't want to say much, but I would say Andromeda is like a sci-fi cosmic kind of apocalyptic event type of horror, and I would rate that one 3.5 stars. The second story is titled Someone to Carve the Pumpkins, and that's more of a spooky ghost type story. And I would also give that one 3.5. I can't really say much about the third one yet, Haven, because I'm only a few pages into it. But I just want to say that this book is really giving me the Halloween vibes that I've been looking for. So I tabbed a few things that I want to mention, and let me go ahead with that. In Someone to Carve the Pumpkins, just listen to this paragraph. He found it a little strange that there were no pumpkins to detract from the oaken gloom of the old house. It was Halloween, after all, and even the weather was playing its part to establish a deliciously sinister mood. Burnt orange leaves skittered along the pavement like giggling children, and misshapen orange heads with candles for brains dotted the decks and porches of every house along the street. And I really liked the way that was written. And I thought I had tabbed something from the beginning where there's like the introduction. So I want to just read that to you too. It's October 3rd as I write this, and hotter than it has any business being. The sun is shining, although with that burnished antique quality of light unique to autumn. And it's quiet except for the sound of dead leaves falling from the trees that surround my house. My neighbors have started decorating their houses with the expected fare: plastic skeletons, corn dollies, fake cobwebs, and pumpkins. Some of them keep it simple, others go all out, festooning their homes with an abandon usually reserved for Christmas. These houses are positively shrouded in cobwebs, amber lights, dangling bats, and witches. The yards are full of foam gravestones, zombies frozen in the act of emerging from their plots, malevolent scarecrows, and bubbling cauldrons. And their porches are a veritable gallery of plastic ghouls and hangmen. So I love the imagery that this book is giving. So thankfully, this is helping me kind of crest over my slump. So that's a good thing to note. And as I mentioned, I'm also listening to the audiobook of Salem's Lot. So I am revisiting one of my favorites. And right now, I'm at the portion of the audiobook, still at the beginning, where Stephen King is writing about the people of Salem's Lot. And I really love the way he does it because he's given like timestamps. He's like I don't know if these are the exact times, but like 6:45 a.m. And we find out what certain characters are doing at that time. And then we move through the day, like 9 a.m., noon. And we also have gotten our first introduction to Mark Petrie, who is in middle school. And we already know from the beginning that he's going to be an important part of the story. And that's really all I can say right now. Is just right now we are getting introduced to the townspeople, and it's just perfect, like visually. Like I can see the people, I can see the places around the lot, and I just love the way Stephen King does that. So other than that, let me think of what else I'm gonna be doing today. Practicing a lot of self-care, like I said. I also got this collagen mask so I can do a little extra self-care. Today is a great day also to cozy up under the blanket because it is actually cool today. It was kind of cold last night, especially for us here on the Alabama Gulf Coast. Like last night we got down to a low of 48, And the high today is only supposed to be 68, which is great. And then tonight, our low is supposed to be 40. So I can definitely see myself cozying up tonight with my blanket, some hot chocolate, either reading or watching a movie. So all of those comfort things that can help sustain me, when my brain is wanting to act up. So I will check back in probably later today and let you know what I decided about meddling kids. And I will see you in the next check in. So, bye for now. Hello, it's Thursday morning. Excuse the bedhead and the partially makeup face, but I wanted to go ahead and check in because I do have a busy day today and I am not feeling it. I have talked about already in this vlog about my depression hitting me hard, and it is still hitting me hard. Thankfully, I do have just one class to teach today, and I love teaching, but as with anything else, when you're trying to be motivated, when you're having a depressive episode, it's really hard. So I am thankful to just have the one class today, and it is my mythology class. And today we'll be covering a brief synopsis of the Trojan War, and the Iliad is a part of that, and then the Odyssey. So this is for high school students. So like I said, it's going to be much more abridged than like reading Homer's The Iliad or Odyssey, but it's fun, and I do enjoy it. Also, I have to bake today, which I hadn't planned on doing. And this I attribute also to where my mental health is right now. Like typically every night, I'm just giving y'all all this information. I am going to talk about books in a minute, but anyway, last night I had my typical snack of frozen blueberries, which I warm in the microwave for like a minute and have that with Greek yogurt. And I realized this morning that instead of putting my berries back in the freezer, I had put them in the refrigerator. And of course, if you defrost the blueberries, you cannot refreeze them. So now, so I don't have a bunch of blueberries go to waste because there's too many for me to really be able to eat in my yogurt, I'm going to have to do some baking. So I found a recipe for a blueberry buckle. So I'm going to have to make that today. Now, let me go ahead and talk about books. So I gave all the way through part 1 for meddling kids before I decided whether or not I was going to DNF it. And I did decide to DNF it because there were things that continued to get under my skin when I read the next part. So I just want to talk about what was kind of the final straw. And it is that all of a sudden, abruptly in the writing, it turns like into it's trying to be a screenplay. So here's an example. Like here you have like I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to get the camera to focus y'all, but this day, y'all, I'm just gonna get y'all there. See? Okay. So you see what I mean? Like the speakers and then the little like stage notes. It says I don't know if it's supposed to be a play, a screenplay. I don't know. But here's what part of it says. Andy, serious. Is this going to be a problem? Nate, stairs. Shit, I don't know, Andy. Tell me, are you really here right now? Continues despite her eye roll. Is Carrie sitting here right beside me? Is there a dog next to you lapping your coffee while you're not looking? Carrie reaches over to slap Tim, drags the cup away from him. I just can't get into it, y'all. And I'm really sad because this was a recommendation from one of our Monster Squad members for Halloweenathon. And in my previous vlog, I also did not really enjoy a recommendation from someone else who is a part of Halloweenathon, who's a co-host. And I don't know if y'all feel the same way I do, but I always feel really bad when I don't enjoy something that was recommended by a friend. And I feel like they're going to take that personally. And I don't know why, but I get really anxious about that because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But if I love a book and someone else doesn't like it, even if they're, like my friend, my feelings are not hurt because everybody has different tastes. So why am I not upset if somebody else DNFs a book I love, but then I worry they're going to be upset with me? I don't know. Why am I like this? So that's just my getting all in my head about something else. I always find something to be in my head about. And that's just one of those things. All right. So now let me talk about Dead Leaves. I am still liking this one. I haven't gotten read as many read as I had hoped to since the last check-in. I have read 2 more, but I'm feeling just a struggle with trying to read or do much of anything. Like I said, depression. Yay. So let me tell you a little bit about the 2 I did read. So Haven, I did finish it. I gave that one 4 stars. I can't really talk a lot about what these are about because they're short stories, but I will just kind of tell you some of the themes that I picked up on. In Haven, I picked up on the theme of trauma and the past and family and healing. Then in the next one I read, How the Night Receives Them, I also gave that one 4 stars. And that has themes of haunting, guilt, and regret. So I wanted to read a couple of sections here too that I tabbed. I really like the way Keelan Patrick Burt writes. I have read a couple of books from him previously. I've read Sour Candy and I think it's called The Turtle Boys, like book 1 in a series. And I just want to read you one passage that I just thought was really beautifully written. The hill, lost in clouds of gray white. The graveyard, somewhere beyond the phalanx of warped ancient trees to the right, hidden from view so travelers have no reminder that death sees this road and visits often. And there's another passage that I want to read also. The dense fog turns the night to silver as it smothers the moon and steals its light. The vaporous clouds are like damp kisses against her face. So I'm excited to have had 2 3.5 and then 2 4 stars in Dead Leaves. And I am looking forward to reading more of it. I have made it to part 2 of Salem's Lot. Now, I'm not physically reading it, but I did want to just kind of stick the mark here of where I've gotten because I have gotten through part 1 and we have some action that's already picked up. We have a very creepy scene through the woods where you have 2 brothers and there's something sinister in the woods, and Stephen King really builds up that atmosphere of dread. And in case you haven't read Salem's Lot, I don't want to talk about what happens in the woods. But like I said, we're starting to have some more things pick up. You have a couple of men who went to move this really heavy box that was supposed to have an antique dresser in it. into the basement of the Marston house, and they both get very scared while they're down there. There's a very unsettling atmosphere. And in case, like I said, you haven't read it, I don't want to say a lot about it, but it's definitely given me comfort. Another thing I did do, I mentioned I was going to watch a movie. So I watched, and I am sorry about this title. It makes me laugh. Guess I'm a 12-year-old immature child, but the name of the movie is Daddy's Head, and it's on Shudder. It is a grief horror and a creature horror, and I don't know exactly how I feel about it yet. I've got to look into it some more. I appreciated aspects of it. I like the turn that it took with grief horror, because grief horror is something we see a lot of, but I felt like this one was doing something different. But I need some time to sit with it and process it, and then I'll come back and talk about it more later. But I'm going to go now because, like I said, I've got to bake unexpectedly, and I need to just kind of look over my notes for class today. And I'll see you in the next check in. So, bye for now. So, the new Bones coffee I ordered came today, s'more time, and I'm excited about it. It's going to be my first time to try this one. But speaking of being in my head earlier, I'm thinking, oh no, I already have one open and I should go ahead and use the Brownie Beyond before I open the new one. But you know what? I'm going to live life on the edge, and I'm going to go ahead and open the s'more time and try it before I finish the Brownie Beyond. Hello, it's Friday morning and it's around 9, I think. So my husband is off work today. We have some things that we need to do around the house, so I plan to do that. And then I plan to spend the rest of my day finishing Dead Leaves. I have only gotten one more story read since the last time I checked in, and that story is, drum roll please, Tonight the Moon is Ours. And I rated this one 4.5 stars, which is the highest rating I've given so far. So this one is set in rural Ireland. You have this city boy who visits his grandmother most weekends. So this is kind of talking about what is going on the weekend. He sneaks out of his grandmother's house frequently to go hang out with his friends. And that is what happens. Like at the opening of the story, you have him sneaking out to go hang out with his friends. And you have a fairy stone that he and his friends go to visit. And that's really all I can say about this one because, again, it's very short and too much synopsis would give the story away. But I really liked that one. So if you like folklore and fairies, I think you'll like that one. So I hope to finish the book today. That is my plan anyway. I did not get any of Salem's Lot listened to yesterday, and I'm definitely going to be carrying Salem's Lot over into the next vlog because it's Friday and I want to wrap this vlog up either today or tomorrow. And I'm obviously not going to finish that much on audio because that's how I'm reading this one right now, rereading it, but I don't want to rush through it because that's the thing with Stephen King is he writes, I know everybody knows this, right? And some people have complaints about it, but that's one of the things I love about him is the way that he writes so much in his novels. And so I want to linger with it and not rush through it. All right, so back to other things that have been going on. I wanted to mention this is very pertinent to some of the things I'm talking about in this vlog, but Nicole over at Nicole's Bookish Nook recently uploaded a video about resources and tools for anyone who is struggling with mental health problems. So I'm going to link that video down in the description box below because it's very important that we talk about these things. I am open about my mental illness on this channel. I talk about what it's like to live with depression. And I think it's very important that if you're able to be open about that, that you are open about that so that other people know they are not the only ones struggling. So I just wanted to mention that. I'm going to link that down below. Now, I mentioned also too before I had to teach my class yesterday. In my check-in, I talked about how hard it is to do things like teaching a class when you have a major depressive episode that's really hitting heavy. But I want to share something positive because just after a few minutes of talking with my students, I felt very thankful to have the opportunity to interact with teenagers. Yes, teenagers, they get a bad rap sometimes. But I just want to say that I think if you give them time, you give them space, you give them a platform where they can interact and where they can talk about things, then you can be greatly enriched by spending time with younger people. And yesterday I talked about how we mentioned that we were talking about the Iliad and the Odyssey, and we had a particular focus on Achilles. And this has a point, right? I'm going somewhere with this. But one of the things I like to do is talk about how Greek mythology influences culture today and how some common sayings that we have are traced back to these stories. So one of the fun things that we talk about is having an Achilles heel. And we talk about, what that means, like that's somebody's weakness, right? So I always like to kind of do something kind of silly with it and talk about how books are my Achilles heel. Like if I'm trying to save money and I've been doing a good job of it, but then I see a book that I really want, I'm like, okay. And I give in to that weakness, right? That's my Achilles heel. So I ask students to share some of the things that are their Achilles heels. So a couple of students said the same thing for them, that it's books. And then I had another student who said it was costumes for cosplay and Halloween. So then my other students and I got excited about that too, because we all happen to be fans of Halloween and wearing costumes. And because this class is on a Thursday, we will be meeting on Halloween. So I told them that they could dress up in their Halloween costumes for class if they want to. And that's going to be great because I was already going to be dressed up in mine that day anyway, because right after I teach the mythology class, I have a folklore of history and Halloween class that I teach. So it was just a really fun experience. And whenever we were getting ready to wrap up the session, one of my students said, well, it's great that we're all just a bunch of cosplaying book nerds. And it just made my heart feel so happy to have that time. And it really did lift my mood yesterday. So I just wanted to say that. I think that's pretty much all I have to say right now. And in my next check-in, I will be talking more about dead leaves. So I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Pumpkins on the porch, waiting to become jack-o'-lanterns soon. Hello, it's 6:15 on Friday night, and this is going to be my last clip. So let me talk about a few things. So since I last spoke with you, finished Dead Leaves by Keelan Patrick Burke. And let me just briefly go over my ratings for the last or however many last ones I read since I checked in with you. I'm going to do this quickly because I know this vlog is going on for a while. So the first one that I read after I checked in last time was The Toll. And I gave that one 5 stars. And really, all I can say about that one is it has something to do with revenge. And there's a nod to a Poe story, but I can't really tell you which one because that would give it away. All right. The next one is Will You Tell Them I Died Quietly? And this one had like religious and cult vibes, and it's the only one in the collection that I didn't really care for, and I rated it 2.5 stars. Then the next one was The Tradition, and I was wavering back and forth between a 3.5 and a 4, but then I settled on a 4 for that one. And that one is sad. It has to do with a ghost and something that happened to someone in her past. And then there is The One Night of the Year, which is the last story in the collection, which I gave 5 stars. That one was my favorite one in the collection. And it's about aging and loneliness and nostalgia. Plus, there's a cornfield and something creepy going on in a cornfield. So you got to love that, right? And then at the end, Keelan Patrick Burke gives a long list of recommended books and recommended movies. So I thought that was cool too. Now, I've been listening to Salem's Lot while I was doing some cleaning, and I've made it to, well, it would be part 3 in the book. Ben is where I am. Again, I'm not physically reading it, but I'm trying to kind of keep up with, keeping my mark where I am physically or where I am listening to it, but keep it in the physical book. Sorry, I'm just like blah, blah, blah. Okay, but let me just share with you this passage that Stephen King wrote. So bear with me, but I have to share it with you. This is from chapter 6, and this is The Lot, part 2. And his description of autumn is just perfect. But when fall comes, kicking summer out on its treacherous ass, as it always does, one day sometime after the midpoint of September, it stays a while, like an old friend will settle into your favorite chair and take out his pipe and light it, and then fill the afternoon with stories of places he has been and things he has done since he last saw you. It stays on through October, and in rare years on into November. Day after day, the skies are a clear, hard blue, and the clouds that float across them, always west to east, are calm white strips with gray keels. The wind begins to blow by the day, and it is never still. It hurries you along as you walk the roads, crunching the leaves that have fallen in mad and variegated drifts. The wind makes you ache in some place that is deeper in your bones. It may be that it touches something old in the human soul, a chord of race memory that says, migrate or die, migrate or die. Even in your house, behind square walls, the wind beats against the wood and the glass and sends its fleshless pucker against the eaves, and sooner or later you have to put down what you were doing and go out and see. I just love the way Stephen King writes. So thank you for bearing with me during this vlog, and I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that bell so we can keep on talking about books and sometimes movies and sometimes mental health. So I will see you in my next video. Thank you again for watching. Bye.